Rev up your engines!
It's Throttle Time says, what are your thoughts on GM building electric vehicles for Acura and Honda? Okay, electric cars, if they ever mass produce them, are going to be what are called skateboard platforms. You get a platform that's the same wheels, same electric battery, same electric motors. You can add extra batteries, extra motors, but they're all the same basic platform. So it makes no sense to build a zillion different platforms. GM has all kind of work they've been doing on electric cells and electric motors for years. So Honda's decided, oh, we'll catch in with them so we don't have to do all the R&D, and then they can make the skateboard platforms and we'll put the bodies and stuff on them. So who knows? They don't want to put the money in. The Japanese and Honda don't want to throw the money into the infrastructure for making electric cars. So they'll be piggybacking on GMs. Now to me, I think it's kind of a mistake because GM is not the greatest company in the world. They seem to screw up everything they do. So I think Honda's stupid pairing up with GM. But Honda obviously sees electric cars aren't going to be that big for quite some time. They're not going to be selling tens of millions of them a year for quite some time. So they're biding their time. It's probably not that bad of a move on Honda. I would have just taken a better company than GM though myself. Their quality control's garbage. I can't see them all of a sudden, oh, now we're making electric cars. Our quality is great now, even though it's a crappy company with no quality control. I can't see that happening. Well, Ford Motor Company has gone officially absurd now. They have gone into the PC mode. It's no longer chairman or chairperson. It's just plain old chair. I guess people in chairs are the same now. I guess they didn't think of that aspect of it. They had a board of directors meeting. I guess they have nothing better to do with their time. They all got together in their board of directors and voted to change chairman into just chair. Like, I guess they don't have anything better to do with their time. So Bill Ford is now chair instead of executive chairman. Are you going to start calling people tables and spoons too? I don't know. This is how absurd our society has gotten. Here is their spokesman, Marisa, says, our roles at Ford aren't gender exclusive, and these changes help limit ambiguity and drive the inclusive and equitable culture we're striving for. What a bunch of doublespeak. George Orwell would be fascinated by this one. Talk about doublespeak. Everybody's gone nuts about what they're calling this, what they're calling that. Hey, what's their job? Build good cars. They've been building a lot of crummy cars lately. Maybe they should really put all their energy into building cars and not what they call each other at the board meetings. Really makes you wonder. But it's not like this nonsense hasn't been going on. Ages ago, my father ran an Esso gas station, right? Well, then they decided they were going to change their name to Exxon. Well, in Canada they didn't. They kept the Esso name. But in the United States, they decided to call it Exxon. It cost them over $1.5 billion to change all the signs and names and everything to Exxon. What a waste of money. And this is a waste of everyone's time, just deciding we're going to call this or that. This political correctness has gone to a length of absurdity that, I don't know, maybe George Orwell had said it's a logical consequence of humans these days. I find it rather humorous. Rich guys at a board of directors meetings are voting about this stuff and then putting it out to the public that we really care. If they did, they'd build better cars. Isn't that their job in the first place? Well, if you don't listen to me, you really should. The 2021 Nissan Rogue is recalled yet again, this time for rear seat safety problems. They didn't weld them right. You got the kid's seat there, could break off. I mean, Nissan's always had problems with quality, but this Rogue maybe sets a new standard for Nissan and their poor manufacturing quality. If you remember, the same Nissan Rogue was recalled in May because rear brake calipers might be missing a bushing that secures the O-ring seal, so you might not have brakes. And some of them had wheel nuts that were supposed to be on the Maxima. They're the wrong wheel nuts, so the wheels might fall off. And they also had a recall because they might not have put fuel hoses on correctly so they could leak. Well, Nissan's had problems with quality. Pretty much, they went from Datsun to Nissan, and then when Renault took over, they got even worse. Obviously, they're not fixing their problems. This is 2021. It's the fourth recall for the vehicle. It just tells you. And this is the stuff that they're admitting to. Imagine the stuff that is wrong that they haven't found out yet, and the ones that are going to break. They do break before their time. They don't hold up all that long. That's why I tell people not to buy them. You can get them a little bit cheaper, and they look cool, and they're zippy, but they just don't hold up like Hondas and Toyotas do. So further proof that I'm right about, don't buy a Nissan Rogue if you value your money. And in this case, your kid's safety, because the kids' seats that fit on are booster seats and bolt onto the back might break off. It's too much for me. Well, it's now official. BMW has abandoned the i3, their electric car. And, you know, it was a small electric car. Tiny little car, cost a lot of money. I know a guy bought one in Houston. He paid 55 grand for this tiny little car, and they've given up with it. Because really, BMWs are known for style and drivability and stuff. This had the skinny little tires, because of course they wanted to make it as efficient as possible. The wider the tire, the more contact patch you have on the road, the more friction you have, the more energy you're going to use. So if you want efficient cars, you need skinny tires. Just like bicycles. When I was a kid, it was a big thing to get those 10-speed bikes, skinny little racing tires. Now I got those big balloon tires. Well, it requires more energy to move those big balloon tires than those skinny little tires. So you're going to pump a lot harder. You're not going to go as fast either. Originally, BMW pitched this i3 as the future of the electric cars. Well, I guess the future of the electric cars is now in the past because they're not making them anymore. BMW said it's an evolutionary dead end, like the dinosaurs. Granted, they had interesting ideas. They had a 647cc BMW motor in the back fender so that if you ran out of electricity, it would turn it on and run a generator, and the vehicle would run at full speed, because it's running off the electric motor, not off the little motorcycle engine. The motorcycle engine just generates electricity. BMW's given up on the whole thing and they're not making them anymore. So much for their original plan of electric cars. It failed miserably, which isn't a surprise. BMW is a luxury car manufacturer mainly, and to make this tiny little car that was completely against their whole philosophy of, at least in the United States, of cars that are big, they ride nice, they go fast, they handle really well, they look good. Those were kind of squat little ugly things that never made it. So goodbye BMW i3. Nicholas Samuel says, Scotty, help, my 2010 Corolla AC compressor won't shut off. It runs all the time. An AC blows cold. I unplug it and it still runs. Help. Well, your clutch is broken. The way they work is you have a magnetic clutch on the end of your AC compressor. It's supposed to spin freely, and when you turn it on, the magnetic clutch energizes the magnet and it pulls the front plate of the compressor in and starts spinning. If you unplug it and it still spins, your clutch is broken on. And I mean, hey, it's blowing cold, leave it alone, because the only real fix is to replace the whole compressor. When the compressor clutches go out, nobody replaces them anymore. They go out because the compressor's weak, and if you replace just the clutch, it's still going to cost you hundreds of dollars. It'll probably break. You can get a whole Chinese compressor with clutch on it for a couple $100-something. Replace the whole thing with a new unit if you want it to work right. But it's still blowing cold. If you don't mind, drive it that way. It's frozen on, not off. Googled says, I'm looking at 01 F250 crew cab 7.3 power stroke, 180,000 miles for $5,500. Should I buy it? Here's what you got to understand. You're buying a used, relatively high mileage diesel. They're all computer running stuff, even back in 01. To fix those things, it costs a fortune. Realize what a brand new one of those things costs. What, 50, 60 G's, right? And you're only paying $5,500. You pray you're getting your money's worth. You don't know. If you do not know any diesel mechanics, don't buy it. You gotta know a good diesel mechanic. I know people that are good diesel mechanics. They're honest people. They're not cheap, but they're honest. And they can always fix them. So I tell people, hey, you want to buy diesel, buy it used, you're rolling the dice, it's a crapshoot. But I know a really good guy, Harold, he knows his stuff. I send it to them and he can fix them. But it's not going to be cheap. Just realize that. Off the line says, Scotty, I got a 4.6 96 Mustang GT, 180,000 miles. How long do you think it'll last? It's a 5-speed, no rust. Well, it's nice. No rust, huh? Well, it depends, of course, how the previous owners took care of it. They're good cars. It's a 96. They're making pretty solid in those days. They're gas hogs. But if you don't care about that, if it's a toy, it can last quite some time. You can fix everything on it. You got a standard transmission that can be fixed. You got a pretty simple V8 engine that can be fixed. Parts will be available probably for quite some time in those Mustangs. So it could last quite some time if the previous owners took care of it, but you can fix it. That's the thing. There's a lot of stuff you can do yourself. That was before everything was computerized and insane. The Great Explosion 175 says, Scotty, rats keep climbing on my car and chewing on my engine cables. Is there a way I can deter them? Yeah, get a cat, you know? Let it live in your car. You ever see that Trailer Park Boys one where he's got the cat living in his car that he's living in the car too? But on a serious side, you can buy those rodent chasers. They make ultrasonic sounds, and they make them that have AA batteries. You can stick them under the hood, you can stick them in the trunk, stick them wherever you want. The rats don't like it. Now, I always wondered, do those things work? So I tried them out, and they actually do. Because I always wondered, okay, they say ultrasonic sound that people can't hear. How do you know they're not lying? I can't hear it, right? Well, I got a thing, and it's an ultrasonic listening device. And so I put the headphones on and turned the device on, and I turned on the little rat pest remover. And sure enough, you hear Wee, 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 and that's what their ants are hearing. They don't like it, and they'll run away. It does actually work. I've even got them in houses, too, where you plug them into 110 volts. Then you have to worry about batteries. They don't like that noise. Drives them crazy. And it does exist, because when you put on an ultrasonic listening device, you can actually hear it. I'm glad I had one, because I always wondered, am I just being fooled by these people? But no, it does put out ultrasonic sound. So if you never want to miss another one of my new car repair videos, remember to ring that bell.